Yo, this is for my homie Domo Leviticus. And we're gonna be talking about relationship stuff and stuff. You know what I'm talking about? How can you copy something if you're not even copying it right? Am I right? Am I right? It's a construct. It's a construct, which is why, among other things, let's see. So, relationship stuff. You know, I don't want no scrubs, or like, when someone messes up, then you're bound to mess up again, or, when you've only been dating someone for a month, then you definitely don't want to, like, leave, to go on a vacation. That wouldn't last through the vacation, or, you know, so we start this out by saying we're sorry because when your girl is like, you're talking all this stuff, why don't you even apologize first? So we wanted to start out the song like, first of all, I want to say I'm sorry. Other romantic lines. Um, what is another one? Say this stuff around, oh, sometimes I visualize about, hmm, what if one of my relationships ended badly, or this one guy goes like, I just wanted to do this song about how, sometimes it's important to cancel somebody out of your life, not in like a negative way, but in just a, you're holding me back, you're a negative influence, and that it might be seen as a evil thing on my part, but it's actually a very brave thing on my part to be able to decide who gets to influence me in my life. Or or there's a mad variety. Uh when it comes from a male perspective, it's either like from this sort of reflexive standpoint, like, yo, I gotta tell you I care. I gotta tell you I'm real here. Like, I was seeing this Amine video where he was like, oh, what was the title of this song? It was called, I can remember it in 30 seconds. He was talking about repressing or representing or compensating for your feelings. And he was like, some people just sort of want to be right and they want to have their emotions validated. Or there was this other guy talking about, I'm just going through a bunch of Genius Verified videos that I watched snippets of, by the way, like 150, the latest ones. There was this one guy who talked about, oh, when you're in the wrong, when you screw something up, when you fuck someone over, it's in a way it's more difficult than being fucked over yourself, because then you have to deal with the shame and all of that. Um, he didn't have a British accent. Most of these people were speaking in like Ebonics, so R&B guys, um, all the trinkets and the tchotchkes and the box and Pandora's box of whack shit. Ooh, Suburban. He's an interesting artist. Anderson .Paak, Rico Nasty. So many people talking about these similar things, like, when I went through life, I figured, you gotta get rid of these negative influences, and you gotta like look at things in this sort of way. You gotta get credit. You gotta, what if you were gonna buy a car? I buy a car every 2 weeks. I could be making fun of these. You don't know. I could be being genuine, like, ooh, these people are interesting. Divine. He's a. I don't know if he raps in Hindi or some other Indian language, but let me say right now, Hindi, all that other shit, especially I was listening to like some sort of Dravidian rap. It's good. I feel like there's a spectrum from consonant vowel, consonant vowel, consonant vowel, like that sort of boring rap, like Japanese and Korean, to like consonant, 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 vowel, consonant, 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 which is like I can't deal with that. Like maybe Georgian rap or like Russian rap or like German rap and sort of French rap too, to an extent British rap. But getting back on stuff, it's bizarre how people talk. You know, when you really think about it, when you're critiquing somebody, like the criticism of the perspective of like, oh, black men won't date black women, it's like, well, the dating life is sort of like ephemeral for one. You know, it doesn't really matter. For two, it has a whole lot of like rituals, at least from my viewpoint. And is that to say that, oh, you can just be unorthodox and shit? Well, yes, but, will that work? I don't know. Um, Feel so clean like a money machine. Feel so clean like a money machine. So, like, oh, Giveon. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but Giveon. That guy has a fucking awesome voice. Um, Wiz Khalifa, KSI. Oliver Tree also has a good voice. Kelani. You know, I fooled around in my day. It's so complicated stuff for like I don't really fucking care. But I guess the sort of reason that you would care is shown later on. So don't you think to an extent that maybe rather than sort of acting in these sorts of ways like, oh, you should be acting in a way that makes sense or something, or like you should go against the stigma that makes black women think they're ugly or whatever. I don't know, just like irrational psychological warfare rather than that, I think works. But yeah, it's really not that interesting, the individual art that people put out. Because if you think about it, you know, say say I divide 8 by 2 and say I divide 8 by 4. 2 and 4 aren't really like that different. Like one factor, is that right? Factor. Yeah, one factor of 8 isn't like going to be more important than the other. And this is very much like, we have all these different numbers with different sorts of primes that go into them. And primes you could see as different emotions. And like at root, you can't really negotiate people into having different emotions. That's the sort of thing I'd criticize about Amine's video compensating, because it's like, yeah, no, you can't really admit to being correct. I mean, incorrect, because it's not genuine. Um, so that's what I'd say, is that you have to get someone to actually genuinely admit to being incorrect in these capacities. Even if, like, from a social standpoint, what they're doing is sort of incorrect or sort of cringe. You know, they're like race traders or whatever you'd say. I know race trader, that's probably not what you would say, but like, you know, internalized racism, misogyny. You know, when you put a term to something, it's like, whoa, we need to heal that. Does anybody have a racism shot? Does anybody have a racism counselor to stop this racism? But it's not like that. Racism is just this like cultural thing, you know, an innate bias. You don't get rid of bias, you know. And so, in a lot of ways, this sort of institutional racism is different from, it's spawn off of like how everybody's racist, so to speak, right? You know, like D'Angelo uh, in that video where he's like getting sucked off. No, I actually mean D'Angelo, as in, you know, systematic bias training, the thing that Trump got rid of. Um, D'Angelo Wallace? No, I don't mean D'Angelo Wallace. He's a YouTuber. Fuck. But you know what I mean. That person who went into workplaces and was like, "Hey, you need to stop thinking about black people's dreads," or some sort of like deep cut like that, where it's like, okay, then don't even think about how black people have differently shaped faces. That's not good. You know, there's plenty of mixed people who have different faces. The actual evolutionary explanation for that is something like black people on average have less. No, they have more surface area per volume, one or the other. And then, you know, no, I think they have less surface area because you don't want to get burned and shit. I'm gonna look it up. Black people have less surface area. If we're really being real. Hmm. Surface area by race. Okay. Doppler. Fucking. God damn, this fucking shit. It's so hard to find the actual source for this. Matter of fact, East Asian. What's the difference? Body mass index. What is your surface area? Who are your curves? Show me your curves, missus. I want to see your surface area. Your surface area is very important. Wait. No, yeah. I remembered it. So black people have maximum surface area to volume because you want to give off heat. But like Eskimos and that shit, they have minimum because you want to give off less heat. Uh, yeah. So then what does this have to do? Oh yeah. So I was tracing it back to, yeah, you have to show why people are wrong. And sometimes I think that takes more of a poetic device. And if you don't really feel like that, if you just feel like, expressing your emotions, being in your feelings, that's fine too, I guess. But I don't know. I just feel a lot of like Black Twitter is on this thing like da 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 da, and I'm like, that's valid points, but it's not exactly like a sort of persuasive argument. It's more like, okay, that's a good thing to build on for like, better treatment of people, but it's like this weird psychologist mindset, which is sort of indirect and professional, and like I don't like it personally. But I mean, more importantly, it's like it can be a sort of way in and of itself, perhaps, of having this sort of like bias against people, which I don't know. I prefer to like. Of course, we're talking about bias inside bias. Of course, you're going to be biased against people who are biased against you, but I mean, at the end of the day, uh, I think it's important to like be above what other people think of you. Because who fucking cares what other people think? Other people have puny minds. Their thoughts are Napoleon. Uh,